Hello, friends. Welcome back to From the Dark Side. I'm your host, Sherry. I'm thinking about setting up a booth for From the Dark Side at my county's Fall Fest this September. I could meet listeners and tell them all about this podcast, and I need some ideas. So far, I'm thinking a mugshot photo booth, maybe some paper evidence bags full of candy. I could do a fingerprint lifting and some giveaways. Anyway, I've never done any of these kinds of things, so if you guys have any ideas, please let me know. If I decide to do this, I will definitely let you know the date and location. So if you're close by, you can come out and get a selfie with me and we can talk some true crime. Today's case takes place in rural Love County, Oklahoma. A 17-year-old named Molly Miller and a 21-year-old named Colt Haynes are riding as passengers in their friend's vehicle. The friend gets in a police chase and ends up driving deep into the woods. This friend would emerge from the woods and the car is located, but Molly and Colt are nowhere to be found. There's a lot going on here, and this case is still unsolved today. This is episode 166, the case of Molly Miller and Colt Haynes. We're going back to 2013 for this one. We had the Boston Marathon bombing. 3 people died and 300 were injured. Actor Paul Walker was killed in a crash. Chef Paula Deen made headlines when it was revealed she had been allegedly using racial slurs against her staff. Lance Armstrong also made headlines when he was found to be using performance-enhancing drugs. Candy Crush was the most popular online game, netting around $1 million a day in revenue. And in bizarre news from 2013, a man in Portland, Maine was arrested for disorderly conduct for whistling while he was walking down the street. He went to court and was advised he could whistle outside while walking as long as he kept moving and didn't stay in the same spot. I feel like there's got to be more to that story. There's a wide cast of characters in this story. Police corruption, small town. This story is frustrating because I feel like we're so close to answers. They're right there. But yet we're in 2025 and still have zero clue about what happened to Molly and Colt. This story unfolds in rural Love County, Oklahoma, a small community where everyone knows everyone. Like many isolated towns, it carries a darker side. It's known for having a large drug presence. Methamphetamine, also known as meth, runs rampant here. One of the people in our story is Molly Miller. She was born April 30th, 1996, making her 17 years old at the time of this story. She is a junior at Wilson High School. Molly is described as being fun, loving, outspoken, and close with her family. She loves spending time with her friends. Molly is very athletic. She plays softball and basketball, and she was pretty good at both of them. She had dreams of becoming a nurse someday. Molly had lost her grandmother, and her family says that she took this very hard. She couldn't move on from it. Molly lived with her mom and siblings in Wilson, Oklahoma, but lived on and off with her grandfather nearby. I don't really know the exact living arrangements. Family says that she was her grandfather's favorite. He just doted on Molly, but occasionally they would butt heads. On Memorial Day weekend 2013, Molly's cousin Paula told Paramount's Never Seen Again that the family had a reunion at Molly's grandfather's house. Molly mentioned to Paula's son that she had been recently hanging out with the wrong kind of crowd. I need to pause to tell you that I just love Molly's cousin Paula. This is a really good woman who has been an advocate for Molly for all these years. She's put in a lot of time and effort to try to get Molly's story out there. So Molly, while living with her grandfather, would sometimes get into disagreements with him, and she would leave and go back to her mom's. Molly had some issues at just 17 years old. As I mentioned, she was hanging with the wrong crowd. Even Molly knows it's the wrong crowd. She told her cousin. She began using drugs, and that's super sad because she's just 17. On July 7th, 2013, this is around a month after that family reunion, Molly had an argument with her mom. She stormed out and yelled to her mom that she was going to a lake with some friends, but this was a lie. Instead, Molly was going to meet up with a 21-year-old man named Colt Haynes. She had met Colt only 1 week prior to this night, and Molly had a crush on him. There's this small party going on at a friend's house that she has plans to go to. I don't know much about Colt Haynes. I know 2 years prior to the story, he was arrested for attempting to manufacture meth. I've never heard of attempting to manufacture meth. I think he must have been caught with all the materials to make it. He also admitted to using meth. According to the Charlie Project, Colt would use drugs sporadically, but always away from home, and he always checked in with his family to let them know he was safe. Colt has an infant son, but he and his child's mother were not together any longer. Colt's friends say he was a good-hearted guy who occasionally got into trouble, but he meant well. He'd been trying to get his life back on track for his son's sake. So what was Molly doing with Colt while her family thinks that she's at a lake with friends? There's another character in our story, a man named James Con Nip. He went by his middle name Con. Con is around the same age as Colt. He's 22. I'll refer to him by his middle and last name, Con Nip, since Con sounds similar to Colt and both are main characters in this case. I hate saying this, but Con Nip gives me the ick. I don't like him. That sounds horrible, and I'm sorry, but this guy is just bad news in my opinion. Con Nip's cousin is the sheriff, Sheriff Joe Russell, and Cousin Sheriff seems to make sure Con Nip stays out of trouble. He's always able to make things magically go away when it came to Con. Molly knew Con Nip much longer than Colt knew Con. I told you everybody knows everybody in this town. So Colt Haynes has a little baby son. The boy's mother is Con Nip's ex-girlfriend. Someone close to Colt said that Colt would have only been hanging with Con Nip if it was drug-related. They're not friends. Con Nip, Colt Haynes, and Molly Miller are together on the night of July 7th, 2013. Apparently there was some kind of small party going on. Con Nip has his girlfriend Sabrina's car. This is a new 2012 Honda Accord. I say new, but it's really a year old since the year is currently 2013, but it's still considered new. Con Nip gets in the driver's seat, Colt gets in the passenger seat, and Molly gets in the back seat. Con Nip has this thing where he likes to try to piss off the police by doing dumb stuff. So late this evening, the three are riding in the car. You know when you're driving and you come up on a cop running radar, you usually maintain the speed limit or hit your brakes. You don't want to get pulled over. Con Nip instead speeds up. He drives past this cop car doing over 80 miles per hour. The cop doesn't do anything, though. Maybe he knows it's Sheriff Russell's bratty cousin and he wouldn't be able to do anything. I have no idea. Con Nip is disappointed that the cop didn't come after him. So he turns around and goes back to the parking lot where the cop was sitting. He then starts doing donuts right next to the cop. This is a gravel parking lot, so rocks spray all over this police cruiser. At that point, the cop turns his lights on and Con takes off with Colt and Molly as his passengers. This is what Con Nip wanted. He wanted the cop to chase him. This guy gets off on this. Con begins driving with the police cars tailing behind him. He reached speeds of up to 120 miles per hour on back roads. It's 10:30 at night, and eventually Con turns his headlights off and continues speeding with the police following behind. He is loving that the cops can't catch him. I'm sure Molly and Colt are telling him to stop and let them out. Then over the radio, the police from Carter County and Love County are told to 1022, which means stop their pursuit. Just let him go. This order came directly from Con Nip's cousin, Sheriff Joe Russell. They don't want to stop pursuing him, but this was a direct order from their sheriff. Around 12:30 a.m., Con had driven his car into the woods near his family's property by Long Hollow and Oswalt Road in Love County. He is driving through fences and running over tree roots and ravines. He's really messed up his girlfriend's 1-year-old car by causing $18,000 worth of damage to it, especially to the undercarriage. The car is completely wrecked. This guy seems to have no regard or respect for anything. Con Nip is pretty close to his family's property, if not already on it, so he just walks home, allegedly leaving Molly and Colt behind deep in the woods with the totaled Honda Accord. Here's what we know. Molly and Colt, who have only known each other for a week, are alone in the woods and survived this car crash. They begin calling friends. They made multiple calls to folks asking them to come get them. They said they had been riding in a car with Con Nip and he was being chased by the police. Then they drove through the woods and now Con Nip is gone and they're stuck out there. Some friends answer the phone and others didn't. It's the middle of the night. One friend is currently working, one doesn't have their car. No one came and got them. We have digital evidence that shows these calls took place from both Molly and Colt's phones, so this isn't just hearsay. At 12:57 a.m., a call to 911 is placed from Molly's phone. The operator answers and no one is talking on the other end, but we hear the phone buttons being pushed, 2 long beeps, then the phone hung up. The operator tried to call Molly back but didn't get an answer. They didn't send anyone out to the area, figuring that it was just someone who had accidentally called 911. We know Molly at some point makes another phone call asking for a ride and water. This is July in Oklahoma. I know it's the middle of the night, but it's still warm and humid out. Colt tells someone on his phone that he fell out of a tree and broke his ankle, and the bone was sticking out. We assume he had climbed a tree to survey the area to see if he could figure out where they were and how far it was to the closest road. It's terrifying thinking he was high up in this tree, deep in the woods in the middle of the night and fell out. It's probably pitch black except for their phones. He also said he was coughing up blood, so Colt is in desperate need of medical attention. 4 of Molly and Colt's friends get on 4-wheelers and go out to where they think they are. Keep in mind, there's a lot of woods. I looked at an aerial view of the area and it's just woods for miles. These friends on their ATVs were unable to find any sign of Molly, Colt, and the wrecked car. They talked to both of them on the phone and they said they were yelling for them, but Molly and Colt said they couldn't hear them or see the lights from their ATVs. These friends decided to just go to Con's house. They're hoping Con will show them where this car is abandoned and they can take Molly and Colt out of there. This has been a few hours since they left. Con Nip answers the door and these friends confront him and ask him where Molly and Colt are. Con's like, no idea, haven't seen them, good night. They tell him, look, we have Colt on the phone right now, and he says you ran from the cops and went 4-wheeling in your car through the woods, then took off and left them. Colt is legitimately on the phone with one of the friends, and he's getting pissed because he heard Con Nip say he hadn't been with them. He tells the friend, put Con on the phone. Con talks to Colt for a moment and then tells the guy whose cell phone he's using, do you remember where we left the Mustang? The friend says yes, and Con tells them they're right near there. The friends need to work quickly to get to this area. They ask Con, can we just walk across your property to get there because it would save us from having to go back to the main road and all the way around? But Con Nip wouldn't allow them to do that. So now they have to go the very long way to get to this location where Con Nip says Molly and Colt are. It ended up being about 3 times the length because Con Nip wouldn't let them walk across his property. They were even going to leave the 4-wheelers. It's not like they were going to tear up the ground. They were going to be on foot. These friends, as much as they tried, they could not locate Molly or Colt. At 9:39 a.m., Molly's phone went dead. At 9:56 a.m., Colt's phone went dead. They've been missing for about 9 hours, but again, they talked to people on the phone for a few hours, including around 6:30 a.m. when Molly called a friend to come get her, but the friend wasn't able to. By now, the families are freaking out. According to Paramount's Never Seen Again, Molly's mother called the Love County Sheriff's Department to report Molly missing. Con Nip's cousin, Sheriff Joe Russell, refused to take the report. Molly's cousin, Paula Fielder, said that the Sheriff's Department dispatcher took the phone out to Sheriff Russell and said, hi, we have a woman on the phone. She says her daughter was with Con last night during that police chase. Now she can't find her. Sheriff Russell allegedly said that it was not his problem and he was not going to take the missing persons report. I'm sure she reminded him that this was a child. Molly is 17 years old. I cannot imagine any sheriff not wanting to help look for her. His excuse was something about the county's jurisdiction or something technical like that. One of the officers made an appearance on Never Seen Again, and I felt for him. He said this case still haunts him. He seems to be one of only a few cops in this town who truly understood the situation, but was forced to obey his sheriff. The woman who took this call took it upon herself to make missing person flyers and hang them around, but was reportedly fired from her job shortly afterwards. Family and friends are doing their own searches, but they have to be super careful because this was right next to Khan's family's property. This is 3,000 acres of wood. I know it's got to be tough trying to search in areas that don't even have a footpath or anything. Police get their first break 2 weeks after Molly and Colt disappeared. They found the 2012 Honda Accord. It was totaled as expected, but no sign of Molly or Colt anywhere. Con Nip's girlfriend, Sabrina, had falsely reported the car stolen, which we know isn't the truth. She eventually had to admit that she let Con borrow the car. Sabrina is charged with making a false insurance claim. A witness also came forward stating they saw Con driving the car that night with Colt in the passenger seat and Molly riding in the back. As well, their cell phone data puts them in the car with Con. Family is heavily monitoring Molly and Colt's social media accounts for any signs of life. They both used Facebook. It showed they hadn't been active since the day they disappeared. They aren't reading messages being sent to them, and there's no active status. The weeks turned into months, and the months turned into years. Molly and Colt today in 2025 have never been found. There's no clues, and this case has become cold. We'll get into the theories, but first let's talk about what all has happened since that night. So, trigger warning for sexual assault. A couple days after Molly and Colt disappeared, Molly's uncle gets some information through the grapevine that Molly had been tied to a tree at the end of Long Hollow Road. He was told that a group of men drugged her and placed a shock collar on her that they would turn on if she tried to fight. He was told that these men took turns raping her over and over again. So Molly's uncle, whose name is Michael, drives down to the end of Oswald Road where he heard this was taking place, and there were cops blocking the road. They wouldn't let him through. The cops told Michael that everything was okay because Sheriff Joe Russell was already down there checking out everything and there wasn't anything going on. Paula says the only person to her knowledge that checked out the tip that Molly was tied to a tree was Con's cousin, Sheriff Russell. Con Nip continued to run from police every chance he got. One incident occurred in November 2013, just 4 months after Molly and Colt disappeared. He was doing 90 miles per hour on some rural roads after getting an Oklahoma State Patrol officer to chase him. I swear this guy thinks he's one of the Dukes of Hazzard. This time he caused the cop's car to go airborne and into a tree, and he was injured. This is an Oklahoma State officer. His sheriff cousin can't get him out of this one. Con Nip was arrested in early 2014 in connection with this high-speed police chase in Love County, Oklahoma. He was not charged with the disappearance of Molly Miller and Colt Haynes in July 2013, but rather for charges relating to other chases, which were felony offenses of endangering others while eluding or attempting to elude a police officer. Con Nip pled guilty on August 7, 2014. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison, so that's good, except he was released after only serving 4 years. Con Nip is out of prison right now and as free as you and I are. Con has never been charged with anything in connection to Molly and Colt, even though he was the last person to see them. All of his legal trouble just stemmed from these police chases. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, or OSBI, reclassified Molly's disappearance as a homicide investigation by July 2014. I'm glad that they are involved at this point since these small county sheriff's departments aren't really doing anything here. Molly's family got Texas EquiSearch involved. If you haven't heard of them, Texas EquiSearch is a nonprofit organization that provides search and recovery services to families of missing persons and law enforcement. It was founded by Tim Miller. Tim is like a pillar in the true crime community. Everybody loves this guy. He founded Texas EquiSearch in the year 2000. Tim and his team go around helping families look for their loved ones because he is familiar with it. Tim's daughter, 16-year-old Laura, was abducted and murdered in 1984. Her body wasn't located until 17 months later. For all he has done in helping other families, Tim won many awards, including one from President George Bush. He has been a keynote speaker at a lot of events, a truly good guy. So Tim Miller is going to help search for Molly and Colt. This is huge, having someone with this much expertise assisting with this. Tim Miller told Never Seen Again that he went out to where the Honda Accord was found. He saw the distance to the road. He said even if Colt had a broken ankle, Molly could have made it out to the road and gotten help. Tim's opinion is that these two didn't die of exposure or anything like that. He believes someone killed them intentionally. Tim knows this kind of stuff better than anyone. He's been involved in thousands of searches for missing people. I think we need to listen to him and trust what he's saying. In March of 2014, about 9 months after Molly and Colt disappeared, Con Nip's uncle, a man by the name of Colby Barrick, makes an accidental call to 911. This call went to the Love County Emergency Services. I've listened to the call and it's hard to understand, but you can tell this is not an intentional call to 911. You can pick up pieces of what he's saying, almost like every other word. You hear him say, quote, "You know you're effing mad. You know you're effing tired. Effing Moxley Lake. A buck knife. Molly Miller. They shot him in the mouth. Right there. I can put my finger all the way through it." The operator then heard what sounded like splashing water and 2 gunshots. The cell phone that called 911 was pinging near Moxley Lake. The operator gets an officer to go check out this area. Can you guys guess which officer went there? It was Sheriff Joe Russell. He finds 3 guys there who claim they're just hanging out and fishing, but they were all in possession of firearms and they each had felonies on their records. Felons aren't supposed to have guns, but he's not going to arrest them for this. Instead, they are given tickets for trespassing. According to an article by Oxygen, in 2018, Con's uncle, Colby Barrick, was arrested on unrelated firearm charges and sentenced to 46 months in prison. While in custody, he allegedly told law enforcement that Molly and Colt's bodies are located at the pond. This pond does end up getting searched eventually, but they didn't turn up. Even Adventures with Purpose, who I've talked about many times on here, they showed up with their entourage and searched the pond but didn't find Molly or Colt. There was a search warrant issued to search Con Nip's family's property, but the district attorney wouldn't sign off on it. Con isn't going to let people just search his property, so ground zero for where Molly and Colt could possibly be is off limits. According to reporting by Nolan Clay for the Daily Oklahoman, in 2016, Sheriff Joe Russell was suspended from the Love County Sheriff's Department. Joe Russell, who is the county sheriff at 62 years old, was arrested and charged with 2 felonies. One was harboring a fugitive. Apparently, he was letting a woman stay with him who had 4 warrants out for her arrest. She was dating his son at the time. Allegedly, if she left, he would turn her in. One day she left, and the next thing you know, she's arrested on outstanding warrants. But this woman starts talking to police about what all is going on at the sheriff's house, including that his son who lived with him was manufacturing methamphetamine in his house. I picture him in my mind manufacturing meth and telling his clients to come to the house and pick it up, knowing it's the sheriff's house. They're probably thinking, okay, this is weird. He was also known to sell meth out of his father's patrol car. She talked about young women walking around there with no clothes on and heavy drug use happening in the home. These are serious allegations, so Joe Russell resigned from his position as sheriff, but he didn't get any jail time. Instead, he got unsupervised probation and a $300 fine. Let's get into the theories of what happened to Molly and Colt. I 100% believe that there was interference in this case. I think Molly and Colt could have been found right away if not for outside forces preventing that. Theory number one, they ran away together. Word on the street is that Molly and Colt ran off into the sunset, or sunrise rather, since it was early morning hours. They just took off. They didn't need to flee. They were innocent passengers in the car. They weren't going to be in any trouble. Con Nip told folks that they left for Wichita Falls. None of that makes sense. First off, they only knew each other for a week. Everyone is quick to believe that Molly and Colt were a couple, but they weren't. They knew each other for 1 week. Yeah, Molly had a crush on Colt, but he had a girlfriend at the time that he had just started dating. Colt has a 9-month-old son that he just adored and he would never abandon. Molly has school starting the next month. They have no vehicle or money. Colt has a broken ankle with the bone sticking out, so he's not walking anywhere. Even if this was a runaway case, most resolve themselves within 96 hours, and that's not happening here. I hope they did run away and are living their lives somewhere out of state, but it's really unlikely. Theory number two, they died from the elements. They were surrounded by 3,000 acres of woods. Temperatures were in the 90s during the daytime on the day they disappeared. Molly did ask a friend to bring her water. Is it possible that they died and their remains haven't been found yet? I think it would take a few days at least to die from the elements. You can go without water for 3 days, but the temperature being so hot might shorten that. There's the theory that Con Nip murdered them. This is just speculation. Con Nip has not been charged with anything in connection to this case. My issue with this is that they talk to people on the phone. Con was at his house and Colt was still alive because remember, one of the friends told Con that Colt's on the phone right now and wants to talk to you. So they were 100% alive when Con Nip left them and went home. Did he go back to them after the friends left? The problem is that people were out searching for them. If Con Nip goes out there and murders them, there's people on foot and ATVs looking around the area. It seems a little risky. If they had gone missing straight away and no one had talked to them on the phone, then we'd be more inclined to believe that Con Nip did something to them. I do believe that Con Nip is involved in some way, even if it was just by association. I don't like the guy, and it's wrong that he left them out there while he walked home, but it's hard to imagine he went all the way back out there later that night. I think someone found them and they thought they were being rescued, but instead this person did something to them. That person possibly being Con Nip or someone related to him. We have an audio recording talking about shot him in the mouth and a buck knife. We have a rumor that Molly was being held at a tree and sexually assaulted. I truly don't think these two are still with us today in 2025. I'm not big on cover-ups in cases. I think a cover-up isn't as possible as most people think it is. But in this case, I believe there was a cover-up. As I said earlier, I think this case had interference. I believe people, including Con Nip, may know what happened to Molly and Colt. Again, Con Nip has not been charged with anything and is innocent until proven guilty. I went to some forums devoted to this case to see what other people think happened to Molly and Colt. The best comment I could find that kind of summed up everyone's thoughts: Colt was killed, Molly was held captive, sexually assaulted, and then killed shortly afterwards. Everyone involved in this case is mixed up on meth, and the Nip family is a nightmare. On January 13th, 2021, Molly was officially declared dead. Her family said it was necessary to do this in order to keep the investigation going and eventual prosecution. According to Marissa Sesks for KXII, The case had fallen in the hands of many local counties surrounding the Love County area, as well as the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation and the FBI. Still under investigation today, the jurisdiction is now in the hands of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Molly's grandfather, that she was so close to, passed away, never knowing what happened to his granddaughter. Molly's cousin, Paula Fielder, told KXII just 2 weeks ago on the 12th anniversary of their disappearance. She said, "There's not a day that goes by that we don't think of her and wonder what it is that we could have done differently or what we could still do differently. When all of this began, who would have ever thought that we would still be here 12 years later talking about this and wondering where she is and wondering where Colt is? I never want her to be forgotten. She deserves justice. She didn't deserve what happened to her, and neither did Colt. I'm just so grateful that people are still talking about them." If alive today in 2025, Molly would be 29 years old and Colt would be around 33 years old. It's been 12 years and these families have no idea where their loved ones are. That has to be so hard to have to deal with all the time. Losing a loved one is hard enough, but not knowing where their remains are or how they died makes it much worse. If you have any information that could help solve this case, please reach out to the Bureau of Indian Affairs. They took over the investigation because Molly was part of the Chickasaw Nation. Rest in peace to both Molly Miller and Colt Haynes. That's it for this week, and I'll see you all again soon. Take care, and much love to you all.